Now I will explain what is this grammar about. I have here, you can see verbs with direct and indirect objects. Okay, that is the grammar related with this lesson. So let me share the other screen. When we talk about sentences, so in a sentence we use direct and indirect object. That is the grammar about, okay? Direct and indirect object. So where can we find direct and indirect object? In the object. So we have the structure of a sentence is subject, verb, and object. This object, so the object part can have direct object or indirect object. Okay, now here we have examples. My sentence is, Maria gave her mother a panettone. What is the subject? Here we have subject, that is Maria, and the verb is gave. That is the verb, gave. Subject, verb, and object. In this case, the object has indirect object and direct object. Okay? So generally, the indirect object comes first. And generally, it's a person. After that is direct object. Okay? After that is the direct object. So, her mother, indirect object, and a panettone, direct object. So, here we have, we can ask, okay, as I said, generally is the indirect object is a person, okay? We can ask to the subject and the verb with who in order to know generally the indirect object. Okay, the question can be, who did Maria give? Who did Maria give a panettone? Question. And what's the answer for who? Her mother. In that way, we can notice which one is the direct object and indirect object. And also we can ask for to know the direct object. We can say, what did Maria give her mother? What? A panettone. Yeah, that's why we know that what answers direct object, who answers indirect object. Yeah, those are very simple sentences. And we have another case. This is one. This sentence we can change in this way. Look at the same sentence, but in the second sentence we have the direct object is first and the indirect object is at the end. Yeah, so a panettone we can take first. Maria gave a panettone to her mother, and her mother goes at the end. Okay, when we use in that order, we need to. Okay, to is a prepositional phrase and introduces indirect object. Another example, we have, my daughter will send him a letter. So in this case, what do we have? Him is in place of its indirect object, but it's working with object pronoun, okay? We can say Santa Claus. So, Santa Claus. Yeah, in place of saying Santa Claus, I can use him. My daughter will send him a letter. My daughter will send Santa Claus a letter. Okay? Or I can write, as I said before, like second sentence. Okay? Second sentence. First we can use a letter. Okay? My daughter will send a letter to Santa Claus. Oh, sorry. Santa Claus. Yeah. So first we have subject and verb, of course, subject and verb. Then we have a letter and Santa Claus, the indirect object. Direct object and indirect object. Let's call it opposite. Yeah. Here we have introduced by prepositional phrase. My daughter will send a letter to him. Okay. In place of this, I can use him. My daughter will send a letter to him. We can replace both of them. Like we can say, my daughter will send it to him. Do you notice? I can use object pronoun. Do you remember the object pronouns? Yes, right? Object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. It depends, okay? We can use these object pronouns after the verb in place of direct or indirect object, okay? We can use these ones, okay? As I said. I can say Maria gave her mother. We can say yes, the object pronoun Maria gave her a panettone. It's not possible in this case to replace direct object when the indirect object is first. It's not possible to replace both of them. Maria gave her 8, let's say. Okay, it's possible when the indirect object, as in this sentence, is first. It's possible to replace both of them. Maria gave her it. No. Okay, we have to use like this. Or first indirect object as a object pronoun and the direct object after the indirect object. Or the direct object first, then the indirect object. Introduced by 2. Sometimes by 4 as well. Okay, that is the uses of direct and indirect object. Here it's explaining that. Okay, here it is explaining that, and it says, read the active grammar box, write to or nothing in the sentences 3A, 3A, and 3B at the bottom of the box. So here. So it's asking you to write to here, or to here, or nothing, nothing. Up to you. As you can see here, it says some verbs can be followed by a direct object and an indirect object. Some verbs, not all the verbs, okay, some verbs. Which ones? Here we have the common verbs: give, bring, offer, lend, own, send, tell, promise, buy as well, okay? And that is, example, he gave his boss a present. His boss, indirect object, a present, direct object. Number 2, the indirect object is usually a person, as I said, and comes first. two forms are possible. And I explained the two forms, 1 and 2, and here it's A and B. A, verb plus indirect object plus direct object. B, direct object first plus to plus indirect object. Okay, this to means that this introducing a prepositional phrase. This prepositional phrase has indirect object. Okay, form A is more natural, especially when the indirect object is a pronoun. Okay, form A. So this is more natural. Says when we use object pronouns, as I said here, object pronouns. So we can say he gave him a present. We are using, in place of indirect object, we are using direct object. Okay, that is one way to use, to organize. Okay, so this is, we can replace by him. He gave him a present. Now let's work.